Hey everyone, I'm Stefan Lin.
And I'm Alex, yep.
And this is the 20s Grind podcast. And in this episode, I feel that it's appropriate that we kind of go over a little bit about our cultural background to kind of supplement why this podcast came to fruition. And for those of you who don't know, we are both, as you can probably tell from our names, we are both Asian Americans. And actually, I think we're both first gen, like our parents were both immigrants.
Yep.
So what that means is that our parents didn't have the luxury of being like a natural born citizen in the United States, or in the US, by the way. And I just wanted to kind of go off and explain how that affected me and how that kind of drove me to be more driven. I wouldn't say motivated, because motivation comes and goes, but drive stays. So I think that's important to point out the difference.
I love that.
Yeah. So for me, the moment that I realized that my parents held me to a different standard was really in like the first grade, like really early on. And obviously when I was in kindergarten, it was like I was not dumb, like I was smart. I could actually like read and I could do math. But that aside, I knew that I was being held to a different standard when I would be not like berated, but my parents wouldn't be happy when I came home with like an A-. And like,
are you serious?
That's like a 93. Yes, that's like a 93. That's like under a 96, and my parents like, why didn't you do? What,
so you had
the A?
You had the Asian tiger. You had the Asian tiger.
Oh yeah, yeah. But it makes sense. It makes a lot of sense, and I want to go way back to my mom's father, who grew up in communist China, and he was like from farmland, like had nothing, and he built his own company, and he's currently in Hong Kong, and he's running like import export of like dried seafood. It's phenomenal what he's done through just literally drive. And the way that he raised my mother was that if you got a 99% on your test, it wasn't that you earned 99%. It wasn't, you didn't get 99 points. In his perspective, you lost a point. So that, like, my parents telling me that and saying, "Hey, we're giving you a break. Like, you're getting a 93. We got yelled at when we got a 99." Like that completely blew my mind, and it held me to a different standard. And the first, second, third, like I just consistently just tried to get that A, like not A-. Like the minus was like a smudge on my reputation, if you can imagine having a reputation in elementary school. But that's the kind of standard that I feel the Asian culture has. There's just a greater emphasis on education. Literally, like, even growing up through my like adolescence, I was always like, "Oh, Dad, I want to get a girlfriend." He was like, "No, not right now." And he was just, "Put your head down and study, make money, and then people will want you." And I'm like, "Okay, cool." So there's something with like the Asian culture where it's just heavily, like, there's a heavy emphasis on education. And I think that honestly, like, this is just my speculation, I don't know how true it is, but I think it's honestly because they went through the overturn of China and how it transitioned into like basically a dictator, communism. Like that kind of change in the government, where they purposefully tried to keep you uneducated so that you would basically be, the sheep, the mass crowd. And like that was highly reflected when I didn't study for my PSATs, and my dad was like, "Hey, what are you doing? Why didn't you study for PSATs?" And I said, "Dad, college is like, come on, Dad, like, this is America. You won't understand. They don't even want you to like use that score. The PSATs doesn't matter at all. You don't have to like use that for college. You just have to have your SAT scores be good." And my dad pulled me to the side and he said to me, "Stefan, no, you never take that attitude, because people who tell you that you shouldn't study, or people that tell you that you shouldn't learn in any way, shape, or form, regardless of if you're being graded, those people want to keep you dumb, because when you're dumb, they can control you."
Oh, dang, I like that.
And coming from a country where I'm sure I don't have the statistics at hand, but I'm sure you could just look at like the illiteracy rate of like extremely rural China, and it's depressing. Like, we think of China, especially with how Shanghai boomed, that it's going to be like, oh, this is like the next New York, right?
Yeah.
But there's a stark difference in proficiency of education. And I think that education and being able to articulate your thoughts are the most powerful thing that you can have, more so than money, more so than like power. Because I think to be able to articulate yourself it requires that you have to first understand yourself, right? You have to understand what's going on in your head before you can actually put that into word, before you can put your word into the world. So, and before that, you have to like first learn how to think, right? And that's something that it doesn't come from like, oh, I have this degree from my high school, I have this degree from my college. I don't think that's the case. I think like the roles that my parents have at their jobs require them to constantly learn. And the fact that like, I mean, my parents are old. Sorry, don't mean to like this.
Yeah, but you're listening right now.
But they keep learning. That's the thing. And like when these new college grads come up and they ask them questions about tech, like computers and stuff, they're like, oh my God, you must be an expert. And my dad's like, no, I literally stayed up the entire night and I just Googled this stuff and I learned it better than you. I'm doing your job better than you because I have the drive to actually look it up. Right. And I think to be able to learn things is the greatest tool you can ever have. I think that is really the crux of the sword is mightier. The pen is mightier than the sword, right? When you can learn things, that's something that I really hold in value. That's
I agree
something
with that a lot too.
Invaluable, and especially just to recap, we both just graduated, and I don't think education stops after you graduate. I don't think that you should have that mentality of, oh, I don't have homework anymore. I don't have to prove that I know this thing to my professor anymore. I don't care. I'm just going to go to my job. I'm going to slave away 9 to 5. And then when I come home, I'm just going to eat with my Cheeto fingers and watch Kim Kardashian. I don't think that's the right role. I think for me at least, what 20s grinds means to me is I no longer have to prove that I know something, but I should be honest with myself to know if I actually learned it. I'm spending my 20s just reading everything I possibly can. I work in public relations now, and I think it's absolutely fascinating because I'm able to literally learn about so many different types of industries, and that's something that I couldn't have gotten before, and I'm obsessed with that. I think it really tapped back into that childhood curiosity that I once had. I think when I was in kindergarten, I used to be able to like pop a squat, the Asian squat, and watch the ants on the sidewalk, and it made an impression on me because I was so amazed how something so small with like such a small brain could cohesively work together as a society and, you know, achieve a goal together as a community. I thought that was so interesting, and now I really doubt anyone over the age of 16 gives a crap about ants on the sidewalk. Like we just, you know, your problems evolve and you don't care about these little things. You're not curious about them anymore. I used to love watching Animal Planet because it was so fascinating. Now they're having some questionable like treehouse program stuff that I don't watch. But
you know what's so funny? Like what you just said about learning. I carry this fortune. I opened up this fortune cookie earlier this summer at a restaurant that just recently opened near us, and it says something that I like. I don't usually keep fortune cookie. You know, I don't. That stuff's kind of silly to me, but this one I really read, and I was like, whoa, this one's different for a change. And I always carry it around in my wallet, and whenever I meet people for business and or just have conversations, this kind of thing pops up. And I just took out my wallet, so I'm gonna read it to you.
Oh my God,
you're gonna love it.
Do you know what's hilarious?
You're gonna love it.
Do you know what's hilarious?
I guarantee you're gonna love it. What's up?
Alex, do you know what's hilarious?
Yeah.
I did the exact same thing.
You kept one?
No, I have like 5.
Oh, you have 5. Okay, well, I have 1, and it means a lot to me, and I'm sure that yours mean to you. But like this one says, no one is ever too old to learn, but many people keep putting it off anyway. Right?
Yeah.
Isn't that that one's a little different?
That one's, yeah, I think that one's loaded because
it's so
in a
different.
way it acknowledges how our time here is finite. And I think if you actively choose not to learn, you're actively choosing a blurrier lens
to look
through the world.
Everyone has a brain. Use it, you know? One of my favorite mentors at NYU taught me that. He was one of my superiors and supervisors, actually. So if he's hearing this, shout out to him. Shout out to Kenyon, yo. He knows who he is. I'll say his name out here. But yeah. Like that when you were talking about the story with your dad and learning, that immediately I was smiling and I was grabbing my wallet already. I was about to pull this out and I was about to interrupt you, but I wanted to wait for you to finish your story. So
Yeah, I mean, okay, just going off of that, I don't have too much more to say. I do think I don't know how hard your parents had coming here.
yeah,
But
I got you.
my dad is literally like my idol. Like he's my hero, and the reason is because of the hardships that he's gone through, and he never like said this to me until I was older and in college, and then I realized like, what, you did this, you did what, how did you? So just, I guess, just to summarize, and the most impactful story that he ever told me was that there was a time when he was so poor that he had to live off $1 a day. So he would just crash at his friend's couch and then like go to class, and then he would work. He would tutor to work, right? I mean, using his brain, he like there's something with like, I think with Asian culture where they don't want you to do like hard physical labor. And that might just be, like a cultural thing, but he used his brain to earn money, but he would spend $1 a day. That was his budget. He would eat one slice of pizza a day to survive. That's insane to me. I can't even imagine. Like I eat so much.
You
like,
eat three slices.
I know. No, I eat like meal. 2 full pizza pies. Like I go to like all you can eat sushi buffets, and I purposefully try to make them raise the price. Like that's how much I eat.
You're the one to blame for all the raising prices at buffets.
I closed one back home. Just say that was me. But yeah, so that's just like,
you have gratitude. That's what it's called.
I have so much gratitude, and I can't even imagine
and you're amazed
what that's like. And I mean, like,
dude, that's the gift, man. That's the gift that I think that first generation Americans have. Like, anyone first generation, not just Asian Americans. We're always seen as the model minority, but like anyone who's a first generation American here, whether you're immigrant, child of an immigrant in America, that's a better way to say it. I think you're blessed with being born into such an opportunity where you can face this unique adversity and appreciate everything your parents have done, and really just kind of stick it to yourself, knowing this, what am I going to do with my life? And that's where the drive comes from. It's not motivation, it's drive. Once you really understand that from your parents. I mean, not everyone understands this, and that's what 20 Grimes podcast is like trying to talk about. Not everyone they don't always get that chance to understand and appreciate where their parents came from, and hopefully we can shed some light on that. So for me, well, actually no, I interrupted you. Were you done?
Or no, I mean, the last little thing I have is that,
yeah, go for it.
The fortune cookie slip that I have that I think is most applicable to this topic is and I think it's the first one that I actually got, that I actually kept, and I was like, is this kind of weird? Is like that I'm keeping a fortune cookie, but it just says you have an ambitious nature and you may make a name for yourself. And I think
I remember you showed me that. You showed me that one, dude. You texted me that.
I was just like, okay,
or
this is a sign. This is destiny. Like I gotta work harder, and I love it. I love
it's good.
it.
I like that. I like that one. That's a good one too.
Yeah, I feel now that when I'm busy, I'm happier, for sure.
Good. Yeah, I feel that way too. I feel weird if I'm not busy. I feel like I should be doing something.
But yeah, I mean that's just my background of like what kind of culture, what kind of upbringing that I came from.
So my turn. All right. So for me, my parents were, well, how far? We're gonna go way back, right? Okay, so
back in the Qing dynasty,
like literally dynasties, right? Okay, so I recently learned that my dad and his side of the family, when they were in Hong Kong, they had to actually escape from the communists. And I'm not even kidding. Like, you're not even gonna. I didn't even believe him because my dad's a jokester, and I think you saw my dad at the barbecue, right? Like he's a jokester, and when he told me this, I didn't believe him. And then he looked at me and said, "You think I'm joking?" And he gave me the details. And I'm about to tell everyone the details. So he looks at me and he tells me that he had a big family, so he had like six brothers and sisters in total, including himself. The two eldest siblings, they were lucky and they actually managed to get on a flight to Macau to escape. And afterwards, the next two eldest and my grandma, they fled on a train. And then there was my dad and his dad, and they got stuck with the short end of the stick, and they were stuck in communist China. I mean, they were trying to escape, and all they literally had to do was go across this ocean, and it sounds very simple, but they had to be smuggled across. Literally, they had to be smuggled across, and think about how scary that is. Like, your entire family is planning your escape from a communist country into freedom, and you're the last ones, and things are getting like crappier and crappier by the day. And by crappier, like, I mean, my grandma told me that they would literally beat her with a stick because if she's not like listening to what they do. So that's why they mainly left. So it's my dad and his dad, and they get on this boat that smuggles them to Macau, and Macau at the time was, free. They were partying it up. It's the new laws. It's still it was the Las Vegas of its time even back then. Now it's all a party there. But they had to get on this boat, and this boat fit 60 people on it. I think it was a fishing boat, he told me. This boat fit 60 people on it, sardines. And it wasn't like a freaking cruise line boat. It was literally a fishing boat. And there were 60 people packed on it, sardines level. 40 people made it across. It was a 3-hour boat ride. Rain, people throwing up. Some people even fell off. And guess how old he was, Stefan? Just take a guess.
I'm gonna say
wild guess. I know it's gonna
10.
He was half of 10.
5.
He was 5, and his dad literally cradled him like, have you ever watched when those penguins, like, they kind of protect their babies, and they like sit, like, they kind of like stand on top of them, and the little baby is like underneath them.
Yeah.
That was my dad and his dad. That's the best I could like explain it on the boat.
Yeah. A little penguin. And like, he was telling me how people were throwing up, and he was small, dude. People would throw up right next to him. It would just slide over on his feet. People would fall off. Like, you can't, and no one would do anything. You can't do anything about that. What are you gonna do? Stop the boat? It's a freaking giant ass boat. So when he told me this story, that kind of builds that appreciation that I'm talking about, that gratitude that I was talking about after you finish your story. Like, they went through that. I'm complaining about what? I don't have any friends, or I have friends. I'm just saying that. Like, you're I know. You're saying that as an asshole.
You're complaining that, like,
your iPhone isn't working.
Oh, my iPhone cracked. Yeah. Oh man, I didn't make the basketball team. I'm sad, dude. They couldn't even afford to be sad. They couldn't even afford to have a basketball. Like. It just I know makes me
that doesn't
laugh
really
a
like
bit.
It's changed too much for me, but I know for you, because you like to play ball. I'm not. You'll get me into it.
I'm just saying that as an example. I don't need basketball.
I
I love playing basketball. I'm not good at it. I'm freaking short. I never grew. I still play with my friends, right? But I'm never gonna be good at basketball. That's besides the point. I was just using it as an example. Like, the things that we complain about, they're silly compared to the things that, not only after they left, everything they had in their country, right? Because it's communist. They had nothing. Yeah. So what are you gonna take? Oh no, I'm not gonna take over my money. There's no money. They had it. They took it. They took everything. The government. They had nothing. So they started over.
Honestly, like, that's something I feel like a lot of Americans don't really appreciate, is that our government doesn't. Well,
and we could talk about it. We could talk about it. We'll never feel it. We'll never feel what that really was like. The best you can do is appreciate it.
The last. I want to end on this note because it's a little intense and I'm a little hesitant, but. Man, like,
so now that you have this opportunity here, you should be.
If you're in the U.S.,
grateful.
You won the lottery. Like, there's so much you can
do. Unlimited amounts of just appreciation for waking up every day.
Yeah, and I think
that is my drive.
Honestly, that's our drive. Our drive is seeing our parents and like what they went through, and like, sure, they might not be dripping in cash like Donald Trump, but they understood that. The goal isn't to get from level 0 to being the next Bill Gates. I mean, it's possible, but what they did was, A, to just get out of a horrible situation, and B, once they were here and once they had us, it was to make our lives better, right?
I know, yes. And
it was everything was done for us.
It was all about that, yes. Everything they did. So, every single action they did was focused for us.
they were so realistic in the sense that they understood that it wasn't about just climbing the ladder, and it was the mentality of I might not get up there, but that's okay. That's not a reason for me to give up, because I know that my kids might get there, or maybe their kids might get there, and that's the mentality that's the mentality that lets you succeed.
Yeah. Success is different for everybody, though. I think getting there, everyone has a different perception of getting there, too, and the whole American dream.
Wherever your success is. We'll cover that in another podcast.
Of course, yeah. I would love. Yeah, that's definitely going to be in an episode.
But yeah, so thanks everybody for listening. This is the 20s grind.
I've never seen them like this before.